Hi.
Hey,
Hi.
I am super excited to be here, Tanya. Wow. Okay.
Same here. Okay, so hi everyone. I see more people are joining, so we'll just do a quick intro. We'll spend very quickly just tell you each about ourselves and why we're both interested in this topic. So, about me, I'm a nutritionist. I work primarily with women and girls of all ages, and something that comes up a lot is the issue of self-esteem, body positivity, kind of like the inner battle of, I want to lose weight, but shouldn't I love myself? And I realized over and over the years how the two don't have to contradict. So that's my interest in this topic. For those who don't know, I personally lost 50 pounds, 18 years ago. And until all this hype came out with like body positivity, love yourself, blah, blah, I never even thought the two contradict. Like I loved myself 50 pounds heavier. I loved myself 50 pounds lighter. Like it wasn't an issue. I just got thinner because I like it better and because it's healthier. So that's just like a little bit about me and why I'm interested in this. And now, Dr. B.
So I am a psychologist. I'm in private practice in Woodmere, New York, but I started GoBe Society around the time of COVID to reach out to more people because I feel passionate in my practice about empowerment. I deal a lot with anxiety and other emotional issues like ADHD and mood disorders. And I see day in and day out how anxiety slash self-esteem slash feeling good about yourself impacts on every element of life. So in my practice, I see little ones as young as 3 and old ones as old as, into their older adult years. And what seems to be a very important message is the message of how you feel about yourself and how that translates into success overall in relationships, in everything and every element that you do, and where body image and how you feel about how you look impacts on that. I see day in and day out. I see it in different ways, in different categories of children. So there are the anxious children and how that impacts and the messages that they send to the rambunctious ADHD kids and what that does, and how parents and just people in between, like how it impacts on their daily living. And so I'm very excited to be here today to really be able to flesh that out on how our body image is not mutually exclusive to what we do and how we what we eat, what we do, and the choices that we make, and how that impacts, of course, on not only ourselves but on our families.
100%. Okay. So, a little bit more about why this is like sort of a hot topic is because, right, as you all may have heard or may know, you can't miss it. There's a whole movement of, intuitive eating, like just listen to your body, eat when you're hungry, right? Like don't diet. This whole thing that like dieting causes eating disorders, this whole thing of, body positivity, love your body at any size. So these are all things that have always been around, but they didn't have a name or they didn't have like a fad status. And now it's like, to use a different example outside of this, like it used to be common sense to take a bath, to relax, but now it's called self-care, right? Like it's a hot word, like self-care. So I feel like everyone's kind of trying to jump on the bandwagon of like intuitive eating, loving yourself at any size. And again, we're both all for that, right? But what if, and that was the topic of this live that we want to cover, is what if you want to lose weight, you need to or want to, you don't have to need to in order to want to, right? You don't have to be morbidly obese and warned by your doctor. Some people just want to lose weight, right? So what if you have to or want to lose weight? Can you do so in a way that does not impact your self-image, your body positivity towards yourself, your loving yourself? And then, of course, we want to touch upon kids and teens because that's something that if you're a parent and you're dealing with, the last thing we want to do as parents is handle this wrong with our kids. So we all want to be our best selves, obviously, very appropriate now during a Sarasime Tshuva when it's all about working on ourselves. And we also want the best for our kids. But we're here to explain how to do that where it's not one or the other. It's not either stay at your size or lose weight and hate yourself, right? Meaning they don't have to exclude one another. You could actually have both. Okay, so I'm going to start with my tips, like just a few of my tips, and then I'll let Dr. B say her tips. And these are just like our top picks of what we think works in order to accomplish this goal. So my number one tip when it comes to kids, for those of you who know me, you know I have 4 girls and 1 boy. And as a mom of girls, I feel extra responsible to, I mean, you know, moms always feel responsible, but when you have that many girls, I feel extra responsible to make sure that they have a healthy approach towards food. And when I say healthy approach towards food, I don't just mean what they eat. I mean their whole everything, their mindset, their mentality, how they view food, how they view weight, how they view all this. And I'm hypersensitive to it because they basically grew up with this. Like, you know, even though I won't say certain things in front of them, they overhear some of my phone sessions. I have an office in my house on my Flatbush days, and people come in and they may overhear something. People always ask them, what's it like to be the daughter of a nutritionist? Like, is your mom crazy healthy and doesn't let you eat stuff? Which, by the way, if you know my kids and if you've been their teacher, they bring regular snacks to school. So my number one tip when it comes to kids is to role model, okay? To be a good role model. So what does that mean? You know, the expression like, you know, do as I say, not don't do as I do, right? It doesn't work, obviously. If you're a parent, you know that. Like, it doesn't work. You can't tell them to do something different than you're doing. You just can't do that. So what does that mean to be a good role model when it comes to this specific topic? Is number one is how you talk about yourself, right? So I'm sure many of us have done this unintentionally. It's just something that's so natural and comes out. Like, oh my God, I feel so fat today. Or, oh, I look horrible in that dress. Or like, oh, I hate that picture. Crap my stomach out. Or let me hide behind you when we take a family picture because like I want to hide my stomach, right? So how we talk about ourselves plays a huge, huge role in how our kids perceive themselves and weight and all this. So, you know, when you're a mom, you have to be an actress. And even though you might be thinking something, you could say it to your best friend, to your diary, to your husband privately, but you just can't say it in front of your kids. So how you talk about yourself, how you speak about others, right? Let's say you just came back from PTA and you noticed that one of the moms in the class gained like 50 pounds, right? Your kids are not the ones to say it to. And I know this sounds logical, but like I hear this all the time from people and they don't realize how detrimental that is. Ma, how was PTA? Oh my gosh, you know who gained 50 pounds? Your friend's mother. Not the time and place, right? Even if you think it, be an actress, don't say it. So how you speak about yourself, how you speak about others.
You know, I love that. I love that role model piece because I think so much of what we do trickles down to our children. But I think that it goes in also setting up the element of success. So modeling for your child that it's not going to go from 100 pounds to, you know, in a day, and that little modicums of success are to be treasured, and that you worked hard at something is to be treasured. So whatever it is, yes, we want to reinforce that we're not perfect. And if we slip off or if we deviate from the plan, then we're promoting flexibility and we still love ourselves in the process.
100%.
And that if we're going to be doing something, we're going to be doing it slow and steady and realistically. And of course, towards what the ultimate goal is. If your goal is to look like a certain person in an unrealistic way, then even if you're faking it till you make it, that's not. But we want to model that the goal is healthy, strong bodies, and that we feel so good. Like your kids, you've got 5 kids. Do you know what a role model you are for what the power that the body could do? Like, oh my God. And that you're functional and that you're vibrant and that you're a successful person as you are. Like, that's amazing. That didn't come because your body was your friend and helped you through that. So I agree so much that modeling what we want to do, it's like a top-down model. We do, and then our kids will follow based on what we do. And what we do, we have to make sure that we're promoting, like I always say, what's your goal? Making sure that the goal is and how you get that goal. 1,000%.
Sure. So the next thing is how you talk about food, right? So in my house, and this is why my kids take regular snacks to school and they're not crazy health freaks. Like in my house, there's no such thing as a good food or a bad food. Some foods are better for you. Some foods are not as good for you. And as young as probably 2 or 3, my kids know what a protein is. They know what a balanced plate is. So it's education, not judgment, not like, don't eat that, or like, you sure you need that, or none of that. Meaning we have everything, but they also know what's better for you and what's not as good for you. And then speaking of what you said about role modeling, right? So my kids will see me eating a salad, right? And then they see, even if I don't have to say a word. When you do that, you don't have to say a word. They see my mother takes care of herself and eats healthy, right? A lot of women that I work with will tell me that they were so busy serving the kids that they just couldn't get themselves to eat a salad. Like, and it's selfish to make yourself a salad. And I say the opposite. I think that when your kids see you eating that salad, it's one of the best things you could show them, because one day when they're going to be mommies, they're going to remember that their mother took the time to sit down and eat a salad. And if it's boys, they're going to give that luxury. It's not a luxury. It's normal to make yourself a salad or whatever healthy dish you want, and they'll learn to give it. So
now in my practice, I agree with you wholeheartedly. In my practice, we use words like power foods or what's your superpower. And those are ways to combat anxiety, just like those are ways to combat illness and to build up strength. And so having things like, we don't use good and bad, just like you wouldn't say to a kid, you're a good kid versus you're a bad kid. No, the decisions that you make are either promoting health or not. And so similarly, there are some super powerful foods. And when they see us eating salmon or broccoli, and then they understand, like, why does my mom, like, do you know why I keep on telling you about broccoli and why we have it, once a week? We have, our super powerful food, because that's brain food, and that's what's going to help you get stronger. And bringing it into their favorite, sports heroes, and knowing, who are promoting certain diets that they espouse because they believe in having these power foods, and people like you, Tanya, that bring it to the masses in such an easy way to be able to eat it. That's really important. That's education. And that's a natural, like you're saying, that's a natural education. It's not like, okay, everyone sit and open up your books now. Right. But it's like, no, this is important to know the whys. Why am I doing this? Why am I are important? Because through that, our kids can be independent. And if we educate ourselves, we can be independent. We can continue wherever we go. If it's on vacation, right? If we don't have luxury of whatever it is, education is a very strong empowerment tool that's going to promote all of that kind of stuff for ourselves and for our kids.
Right, 100%. So just to sum it up, it's role modeling, right? And how you talk about yourself, how you talk about others, and how you talk about food. And when it comes to, let's say your child is on a food plan or on a diet, I'll say the D word, it's not the worst thing, because if your child had bad skin, you would take care of the bad skin. If your child had social issues, you would go to someone like Dr. B or someone who could help them. It's not embarrassing to take them to someone normal, no, not normal, to help them with whatever it is they need. So if they are on a diet or on a food plan, stay in your lane, okay? Just stay in your lane. What does that mean? That means that you are, as a mom, a chauffeur, it's late at night, I can't talk straight. You're the driver, bring them to their appointments. You're their financial sponsor, you probably paid for this. You're their chef, you're their cheerleader. You are not their mashgiach, you are not their policewoman, right? That is not your role. So if it comes down to it, it's better to have a healthy relationship with your child than ruin it by this, but you could have both. You could have a great relationship with your child, and they could be on a food plan if you just stay in your
now lane. I it's so funny that you say the D word. So in my practice, I talk about diet, but when I do it, I do a lot of mnemonics. So diet stands for D is debunk no, do not use harsh language with your child. The I is you have to be in it to win it, meaning you have to, like you said, model for your children and get them knowing that this is a life change, and it's not just going to be an isolated one child. The family is promoting health. E is exercise and education. Exercise, when you're strengthening your body, as you do this in a multimodal way, but it's also about, strengthening and actually getting energy and education so that they're empowered to know what to do. And T is tiny steps towards your goal. Nobody does something big. Even in this time of Aseret Tshuva, we don't take on 100 things or we're going to drop it all. But you take on tiny things because positivity connects. And in that way, diet is a positive word, because if you can follow that, then that can lead to empowerment in a way that children and families and people can just benefit. Then a diet is a good thing.
Right. And I'll tell you when else a diet is a good thing, even if you don't use the acronym, which is really cute. I like it. I want to write it down after. But even if you don't use it, I'll tell you when a diet is a good thing. When you make it about what it needs to be, meaning the reality is that there are people that want to or need to lose weight, right? We can't deny that. And more, even young kids are bullying people who are overweight, making fun of them. It's a thing. It reminds me of a friend that sent her daughter to a very, very fancy, snobby camp. And she said, you know what? I don't care that everyone there wears hardtail and Aviator Nation and Lululemon. You're not. You're going to be wearing regular, I don't know, Junie or Kitty Chic. Not that anything is wrong with those stores. But regular clothing. And you're going to show them that whatever. You know what? Whether she should have sent her to that camp or not is a whole other story. But if you're sending her to that camp and you're not going to, you don't have to get her 100 Aviator Nations or whatever, but if you're not going to get her any, you're basically setting her up for not succeeding. It's not fair. Then send her to another camp, right? So we're living in a world where, as much as whether you like it or not, weight matters, people judge, definitely people notice, even young kids, it plays a big role in shidduchim, whether we like it or not. I hate that. I always talk to shadchanim about this. I hate it, but that's the reality. And we can't pretend that there is not an issue. So if someone chooses to do something about that issue in a responsible, healthy way, not a crash diet, not anything dangerous, going to someone supportive, warm, giving them enough food, giving them kid-friendly food, there is nothing wrong with dieting. It's not the word itself, it's how you handle it and what you do with it.
And it's really about what your goal is. If the child's goal is, I need to fit in with these particular kids because these particular kids are going to be judging me unless I'm very thin, I'm not going to fit in, then there's a good likelihood that that's not a very healthy relationship.
Right.
And that the fact that they would want that is probably an indication that they need to retrain or adjust what it is, because people that fit in, friendships are about commonality and hooks. And if someone is a sensitive soul, is not really going to mesh that well with someone that is so superficial and doesn't want to go tap into their sensitivity. But the world is a very harsh place. I always say we can't control if it's going to rain, but we can control if we're going to bring an umbrella, if we're going to take a raincoat, or if we're going to dance in the rain. And if you're the type to dance in the rain with Aviator Nation, then that's wonderful, but that's not for everyone. There's some people who are going to want to take their umbrella and walk off to the side, but they have to walk off to the side feeling good about themselves. And so as a parent, oftentimes, or being that kid, who wanted it, but, kind of had to walk off to the side, it's important to recognize that it has to come from a place where you feel strong about yourself, because you're going to be your best friend with your body forever. And so all of those people that are wearing Aviator Nations, they're going to go home eventually, but you go home with that person yourself. And so it has to come, and it's really important to embrace who you are, what you're about. And that trickles down to the little people that you ultimately create, because both genetically and emotionally, you become invested in those people. And so it is a harsh world, and shidduchim is such. But we have the important role right now to try to create a positive feedback loop through the work that you do, Tanya, to empower people to be able to make good choices and decisions, and to teach parents and people themselves what to say, what's that inner dialogue of, I am worth it. I want to be strong. I want to be powerful. I want to do what's right for my body because my body is my best friend and everything else will follow suit. I just, but that takes work. And it takes, coming together in this way to really recreate the patterns. But it always goes back to the goal. And I don't know that the goal should be, like social media. In my day when I was growing up, there was no social media. So the images were kind of created in a very generic, small way. Now, oh my goodness, the opportunities to see, edited people and their lifestyles is just, it's enormous. And it's it's
not even
right.
Like their lifestyles. Just one about the umbrella, right? Like, when it rains, you could either like dance with an umbrella or whatever, hide from the rain. It's up to you. So just to like piggyback on that, because I love the analogy, if you like rain and you don't care that it's raining and you want to go outside in the rain, no problem, right? So where am I getting at with this? If you are overweight, whether it's 10 pounds, 40 pounds, 100 pounds, and you are happy with yourself, no problem.
Not only no,
that's great.
Problem, bottle whatever it is that has inside of you and Jeanette, like, just bring it out into the world, girlfriend. That is amazing.
If you love yourself 40 or 100 pounds overweight and you don't have health issues, although that's the big at more risk for health issues. But if you love yourself the way you are, good for you. That's amazing. Like when a client tells me, let's say she lost 40 pounds and really she should be losing 30 more according to a chart. And she tells me, I feel amazing. I look great. I feel great. I'm not going to argue with her. Good for you, girl. I love it that you're so happy with yourself and whatever. Good. Go dance in the rain. No problem. But if you don't like rain, okay, then we have options. We could give you an umbrella. We could give you a nice umbrella. We could do all kinds of things in a positive way, not like, oh, rain, Anyway, let me get to the questions that we got. So I'll let you answer this one because you work a lot with kids. Is there an age that's too young for a girl to start dieting?
So again, if we use the diet as in a healthy way, then healthy eating should be promoted from in utero. So I don't believe under those circumstances, when the goal is a healthy one, any age is good. But if we're talking about actual weight loss, as in cutting out certain food groups and cutting out certain elements that in a regular routine way, then, my answer to that is first speak to your pediatrician and understand what the ramifications are. Because when, like what you're saying, if it's a health concern, that takes priority over everything. And that probably will lead to a more extreme situation than not. So again, it's about promoting the right kind of what diet should mean for the regular typical person. And then for those that have major health concerns, there's never an earlier enough time because that's a safety issue.
Okay, so someone asked, does dieting cause eating disorders?
Right. So eating disorders are there's a genetic predisposition to that. And so if that is something that is in your family, either for yourself that you have suffered through it or people in your family have, please be vigilant in getting the support that you need, either working on yourself or making sure that you have the internal support so that doesn't trickle down into families. But the messages that one sends to yourself or to your child is very important. And so the creation of an unhealthy feedback loop can create unhealthy eating, right? So that can happen, nature and nurture. So that could be an environmental experience. Be very careful, especially in the formidable years, that the messages that you send to your children or the messages that they receive on social media or on TV or in the magazines, you need to be aware and have a relationship with your child to know what message are being sent, because that can create an eating disorder.
Right.
Our society can create eating disorders.
So, right. people are so quick to blame dieting or healthy eating, but what about TikTok? You know, like it's the first thing I took off my kid's phone when I realized like I'm not the TikTok generation. You know, it took me a while to be like, oh, okay. And now it's like the main thing because what you see on TikTok is way worse than any dieting. So you're right. It definitely could come from social.
You're right. You know what the thinnest person is? The thinnest person is a magazine because it's paper and it's flimsy. So be very sure that what you are giving to your children is not fueling any capability for really unhealthy eating. So it's not just about the diet.
Okay, so I could answer this one. So someone said, I had 7 kids. Isn't it time to just accept my body as is? So my answer to this, you might have a different answer, but my answer to this is that depends what as is means. Meaning, I agree that maybe it's not always realistic to go back to your pre-wedding weight, right? Obviously, the body changes with each pregnancy, especially if you've had C-sections. Some people have separation of their abs. There's all kinds of things that pregnancy does to our bodies, right? Also age. So I agree that to an extent you may or may not, I'm not saying it's important with Sculpt, which I'm very into, as most of you know. There are options. Like you don't have to accept things the way they are just because you've had 7 kids. So I happen to think I look better now after 5 kids and all 5 of them are C-section than I did before them because I exercise, I eat healthy. I used to not. So I don't think you should like write it off as like an impossible mission to like never look good again. You could definitely look better. How much better? That depends on the person.
Right. I agree with you. I've had twins. So there are certain muscles that are just never going to actually get back. It doesn't matter what I do. Right. And I think that embracing that and the level of like, you know, what those marks actually mean on the body is one thing, but I don't think a defeatist attitude is ever healthy. I think it's always good. I believe in a success stack in that promoting. And if you do want something, then you work towards it. And your goal has to be realistic, of course, but it also has to be one that is going to make you happy. And if what's going to make you happy is to look a certain way or to promote yourself in a certain way, you go, girl. Like, that's wonderful. And I think that that's healthy. People who have, hair that they don't like and then, wear new wigs and promote that's wonderful. People that have a certain body type that they've always wanted, abs they want, it's all good. But it also has to go with like, not a defeatist attitude and a realistic attitude, but that the goals should be one that are based on something that is going to really promote self-worth and self, and true happiness, not a false sense
I
of
also
it.
think a big factor is how much of headspace and time of your day this takes. Meaning, someone told me once, like, in order to do this, I have to spend 4 hours a day at the gym, barely eat, not go out with my husband, not go out with my friends. First of all, she's wrong. It does not take that. But that's if you're doing that with anything, if you're going to shul for 4 hours a day and going to 1,000 shiurim just in
1,000%. I'm so in agreement.
Right. Like
I have this metaphor actually of pizza, right? We all wake up with 8 pizza slices and all throughout the day, we use them in different capacities. So if we're going to take all of our pizza slices towards, our food prep, then we're not going to have any pizza slices left for our children, for our jobs, for our religion, but a balanced person is able to take 1 slice for this, a couple of slices for their kids, a couple of slices for their own, health and promotion. And in that way, you're able to maintain a life. I agree. Extremes are not going to work, and it usually peters out. Something gives when you go too extreme. It never materializes. It lasts in the short term, not in the long term.
And I'm happy that you didn't say like exact same equal slices of pizza to this and to that. Like, people always say, like, how do you balance your life? How do you juggle everything, like work and kids? I'm like, I don't know. Some days I'm like better at one thing. Some days I'm better at it. Some days I give 70% to work and 30% to my family. And some days it's 90% to my family, 10% to work. Like, it's not equal, but if I would put all my pizza slices, so to speak, into only one thing, whatever it is, whether it's dieting, the gym, religion, anything, it's unhealthy. So just spread out your pizza slices. ironic that it's like pizza slices.
Right there. Listen, the healthy pizza.
Right.
Tanya, come on. I'm sure you've
I'm
got those
all
healthy
for
pizza.
okay, so I'll read a question because it was long, so I actually printed
Oh
out.
my gosh,
So
you're amazing.
wanted to know if you could talk more about the topic of speaking to kids about their body and food in a healthy way. I'm struggling with my weight, and growing up I did too, although my mother tried to give me lots of confidence. My husband's family has opposite problems. Currently, 2 relatives are struggling with anorexia. I have 2 little girls. One is underweight and doesn't eat well, and I'm nervous about that.
Conduct their lifestyle, both in terms of their eating, because that's a piece, but also in terms of how they talk about things. And then when they go to their relatives, like when you're going to Bubby and Bubby has a certain, like, you know, says certain things like stand straight, or, you know, tuck yourself in, or why do you look like that? Shouldn't you be, you know, like, why did you bring that to the thing? You know, that's one thing, versus Bubby, who's like, oh, have 7 more pieces of potato kugel. You need to eat this bubba. Like, no, you love me, right? You're going to have my potato. Like, all of those mixed messages are going to be you know, an ongoing thing for this family. And I do think that, you know, again, having that goal and being consistent, you know, I say that some problems are those that you can solve by yourself, but then once you bump it up to the next level and it becomes a middle-sized problem, that's where you get help, or you have like a, you know, someone to bounce off, a friend, a colleague. And then otherwise it becomes a large problem where you have to get some professional help. I think with all of what she's struggling with, it would probably be good, you know, to take it step by step in this minefield. But we're really impressed with the fact that you care and that you're so intuitive, psychologically minded, that you're already seeing all the little triggers and all the little nuances. So all the power to you, really. Wow, very psychologically minded.
I just want to say one thing. So I think you answered it very thoroughly. But one thing is that I learned, you know, over the years, I used to pay attention to and take seriously every little thing my kids said. And I learned over the years that you don't have to pay attention to every little thing. Like, not everything deserves attention. If you see a pattern, like a kid is saying something over and over and over, okay. But a 4-year-old saying I have a tummy, I don't think that's an issue. I think maybe we're just so, you know, hypersensitive in this world where, you know, is it a big deal? Is there a problem? You know, like, we're so quick to like want to fix things and like notice whatever, right? So like, not everything is a big deal. You also have to learn to, like, I'm sure we've all had moments where our kids said, I hate my life. Do we think they're committing suicide? No. Or they said, I'm never going to school again. Do we think they're dropping out of school? No. But if you see a pattern over and over, that's different than a one-time comment here, a one-time comment there. You can't pay attention to everything, right?
Right. It's so funny you said that, because just yesterday I had this family come in and the mom was like literally crying, and she's like, please fix my little boy. I'm like, okay, tell me about your little boy. She's like, my little boy is 5 years old and he's playing with dolls. Oh my God, he's playing with dolls. Please do something. My husband, he keeps throwing the ball at him. He keeps throwing the ball and like, catch the ball, and he wants to play with dolls. You know, it's like, come on. But they're also, because of these genetic vulnerabilities, and because, you know, again, you have to be aware. You have to go in with a little bit of a lens, but you can't microscope. I agree with you 100%. No microscoping.
Right. You could file it in your file, brain file as something to pay attention to, but you don't have to freak out about every little thing. Like,
to be a little bit more sensitive. Be sensitive, and also we all have to retrain. We're all taking this into like a new vista of how we promote healthy eating. Like, you know, this is a newfound language. There are certain words in our vocabulary that now we're a little bit more sensitive to, and some people have to be even more sensitive. That's fine.
Yeah, totally. So in closing on my part, and you know, if you have, you could add, but in closing on my part, I don't know if some people came on, came off, so I'll just like summarize it. Hopefully this live will save and you can watch it, but we're basically saying that whether you want to or need to lose weight, or your teenage daughter or your son or your younger daughter needs to or wants to lose weight, as long as it's done in a healthy, balanced, loving, non-judgmental, non-extreme way, it's totally fine. Because no one's going to pretend that, you know, it's just not an issue if it's an issue for them. So as long as it's done correctly, you can love yourself and be body positive and lose weight. You don't have to choose one or the other. Anything else to?
Yeah, I think it is people like you, Tanya, that is making that be a reality in a very strong, powerful way. And that we are, as for ourselves, you know, it's all about empowerment. You know, it's all about empowerment and how that trickles down into our children. There are so many negative influences in this world right now that are sending these horrible messages. And it's our job to find the good messages, retrain, and take all the positives that life has to bring right now. There are so many more things and nutrition and opportunities available. And we have to love ourselves to want to do that. We have to love our children to try to do that. And especially in this time of change and promotion of change, it's a time of year, it's the Yamim Noraim. And, you know, we have to be positive in that we can do it. We can make it happen. We can build in a healthy way to ourselves and to our children. And in that way, you know, we're going to, you know, feel better, live longer, and feel more accomplished and do better. And that's what it's all about. So I really appreciate it. I feel like I've just been talking to a celebrity for all this time. This is great.
You know, just one more thing. I know I said I'm wrapping up, but you reminded me of something. One of the nutrition counselors that we have, when she first started working, she said, you know, I really I'd rather not work with children. Like, it's weird to me that children want to lose weight. It's weird to me that teens want to lose weight. I'd rather not. I don't feel comfortable. So I said to her, you know, I'm going to just tell you one thing. Maybe this will change your mind. If not, no problem. We'll only give adults to you to work with. But I said, these kids and these teens that want to lose weight, if they're not coming here, they're going to go somewhere else. Okay. They're either going to Google a crazy diet plan, or they'll do something their friend did, or they'll go to someone who's mean or judgy or doesn't give kid-friendly food, right? They're going to do it anyway. So thank God that they're here where we're nice and warm and not judging. And she was like, whoa, that totally like shifted her perspective. And she's been seeing kids and teens ever since. And she's like, she always thinks that thank God that they're here and not somewhere else, because the world is not always very friendly, even to kids.
Right.
So I actually wrote an article called Your Teen Girl Wants to or Needs to Lose Weight. What do I do? It's for moms. If anybody wants it, you could email me, Tanya@nutritionbytanya.com, subject line teen article, and I will gladly send it to you. And if you want any more information on Dr. B and her services and what she does, where would they get that?
So yeah, GoBe Society is a way on Instagram. I have a private practice, and in Woodmere, Dr. Boczko, and I also have online, and you know, keep on watching, because GoBe Society has a lot of great things in store. And yeah, we're all about empowerment, especially to children, teens, and families. So thank you so much for being able to spend this time and to really just get out some of really important ideas to espouse to the population, and hopefully we will continue to promote, you know, empowerment and beautiful things in the right way.
If anyone has questions, I know a bunch of you submitted in advance and we covered some, but if you want to just quickly type your question, we'll take like a spur of the moment question. We'll just give it like a second. If anyone has it, you could type it, speak now, or lose your chance. Anyone want to type a question, a comment? No.
I think we covered everything, Tanya. I'm so impressed with us. Way to go.
I think we really did, and I know it's a sensitive topic that
it's very sensitive.
That's why I opened it up to asking questions in advance. I feel like
I think that people will reach out to us privately, and this will be a continued dialogue, and we'll continue to affect change and to influence people in our ways.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining.
Sure. Gmar Chasima Tova to you.
Thank you. Same to you and to everyone on here.
All right.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.